It's here. Anchor's a long awaited business model is here, and it's called listener support. Hi, everybody. My name is Ileane Smith, and I'm so glad you joined me today because I'm really excited to talk about Anchor and the listener support option that's been launched in the last few days. But in addition to that, I want to make sure that you know how to support your favorite Anchor podcaster. And the first thing you need to do is pull out your credit card. So let's get that all taken care of. And while you're doing that, let me just give you a little bit more background. Anchor.fm is an amazing place for you to start your podcast, especially if it's your first podcast and you're just learning about podcasting. I want to say hi to my buddy here, Rob Fuzz. How you doing? Thanks so much for joining today, Rob. And the reason I love Anchor so much is because for years, I have had lots of friends who wanted to start podcasting. I've actually started back in 2009, and people are intimidated by the tech. They just think there's so many steps. It's so complicated. RSS feeds and all of that stuff. And I've seen a lot of people that have a lot of important things to say turn away from podcasting simply because they didn't want to deal with the tech. They didn't want to go over that hurdle of that learning curve that could help them to get their message out. And it's important. I want you guys to get your message out there because I know that you have something important to say, and I know that you can touch someone's life with your message. And Rob is here giving me all kinds of support. Love your tips and streams. Thank you so much, Rob. Rob has a great channel with his son. So I've been tuning into some of your stuff while I'm at the gym, Rob, just so you know. That's why I haven't had a chance to really comment because I'm on the treadmill. But anyway, so here's what I want to do today. I want to talk to you about this listener support. Give you a quick rundown. Listener support is a way for your listeners to give a monthly donation. Now, a lot of people are already asking me about the comparison with Patreon. But before we get into that, let me just finish up. You have three choices. As of right now, this is August the 12th, 2018. As a listener, you want to support your Anchor podcaster. It could be 99 cents a month, $4.99 a month, or $9.99 a month. And I want to first say a big thank you to Bernie Goldbach from Top Gold. He has supported my show over on Anchor called The Anchor Show. And also I want to say good morning to my friend Aunt Capone, someone else I met on Anchor. And now people may wonder, well, what's the benefits of using Anchor? One of the things that really benefits you from being a user of Anchor, not only from the podcasting side, there is a built-in audience. And I'm going to give you a prime example. This young lady that I am going to show you how I want to support her. I found her on Anchor, and it's so funny and so ironic because, like me, she does podcasting. Like me, she does YouTube. Like me, she does live streaming. And without further ado, guys, let me share with you my friend, Ashnichrist. She's the stream coach over on Anchor. And now, part of what I want to show you is how to give somebody support. And you're going to see me give support to Ashnichrist live. But it's really easy to support someone on Anchor who has this option turned on. If you're on desktop, super easy. Just push the support this podcast button. And you see here, become a supporter, stream coach by Ashnichrist. If you love this podcast, you can support the creator with a small monthly donation. Your contribution will help sustain the future of the podcast and enable the creator to make more episodes. You can cancel at any time. And here are the levels I mentioned to you already: $99, $4.99, $9.99, and the creator earns 13% more per dollar. Now, I'm not 100% sure who they're comparing that with, but nonetheless, I do think that you are getting a couple more percentage points when you support someone this way. And I also want to say hi to my good buddy, Andrew Hatchett. He's waving there. Andrew is who I call the Zoom master. So if you want any tips on using the Zoom live streaming platform, check out Andrew Hatchett. Do it today. Okay, so before I move on, I got to say this about Ashnichrist. Ashnichrist is such a great community supporter. And I believe her tagline is "Pursue your dreams and learn to stream." And she does coaching. She has a Patreon. She's got a Discord. She streams these really, really long, in-depth, and very vibrant streams over on Twitch. But she also puts out a ton of content here on YouTube. And then to top all that off, she has a podcast. A girl after my own heart. She works her off. And it's to support and to help others. So who better for me to show my first support over on Anchor other than someone who I met through Anchor? I have all these other outlets that I could have possibly met her on because, as you guys know, I'm on Twitch too, right? That's why I got my Twitch shirt on. But I didn't meet her on Twitch. I didn't meet her on YouTube. I met her on Anchor. And she's a super fun gal, so you guys all check her out. Okay, so the reason why I'm not showing you how to do this on desktop, because that's just straightforward. You guys saw. All you have to do is go to the person's, you go over to the person's, I just realized I forgot to send out a tweet. Anchor page. So in my case, it would be anchor.fm/Ileane. That's ILEANE. Right? And /support. I just put it as a comment here in the chat. So it's, in my case, I made a short link for Ileane.link/support just to make it easier, because you guys know whenever I have a link for something, I always say Ileane.link/support. But if it's someone else and you know that they're on Anchor, and this is for US-based podcasters for now, all right? Now, you can live anywhere in the world, like my friend Bernie Goldbach. He's over in Ireland, and he's done listener support for my station. So anywhere in the world, you can be a supporter. But currently, it's only available for US-based podcasters. Okay, so we got that out of the way. Now, really quickly, let's put out another tweet while we're here. Okay, so what I want to show you is I'm not going to show you all. I'll give you a few of the mobile apps. I want to demo some of the mobile apps because as one of the things that I love about Anchor, right, is that they put you on all these platforms without you really doing much. You know, you have to record the podcast and you have to tell them that, yes, I want to be listed on Apple Podcasts, but then they add you to all these other platforms. You've got Google Podcasts, Breaker, Castbox, Google Play Music, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Podbean, Radio Public, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. So let's first go over to Spotify, okay? Because Spotify is unique in the fact that Spotify really just started having podcasts there, but there's so many people who use Spotify to consume music. And so it's a really great platform to get exposure on. And DC Scraping Rooster has said, good morning, Ileane. Hello, DC. How are you, dear? So glad you could join. So I'm not sure if you have a podcast, but I would love to know if you do. Okay, so here we go. We're over on my phone. Now let's open up Spotify. Now, I had previously already searched for Ashnichrist, and so that's why you see there that very first one is for the Stream Coach. Let's just tap on mine, which is the Anchor Show. So what you would do is hit the three dots, and notice at the very end, the very last line, this is what Anchor has added to the end of my show notes and all of us who are doing listener support. It says, become a supporter of this podcast. Let me make sure I get my mouse over there. I don't think you can see my mouse though. All right. And it has a link there. Now, the problem when you're on Spotify, that link actually doesn't work. So you kind of have to educate your listeners that they need to copy and paste that link. Okay. So that was Spotify. Let's bring me back on screen. All right, so that was Spotify. So it is a couple extra steps. Now let me show how easy it is in the podcast app. And like I said, we want to support Ashnichrist. Ashney has this thing called the Yam Fam. All right, and it has to do with yams. You had to be there, okay? It's really cool. So we want to make sure she can buy more yams for the Yam Fam. That's the name of her tribe, okay? So let's go back before I start screen sharing again. Now we're going to go over to the Apple Podcast app. Now I had already done the search, and you see down at the bottom it says the Stream Coach. All right, so here we go. I think we have to, there's a couple extra hoops you got to jump through in order to get over to the show notes, because that's what's important. You have to be on the show notes. Okay, so now that I have added it to the library, I'll say subscribe. All right, so now you see the details of the show notes. You have to click on more. It's a few clicks. This is why I'm showing you guys, because I know that you want to support. So you're going to go to the show notes and go to the bottom of the show notes. That's where you see become a supporter of this podcast. And there you go. So now, like I said, I'm going to do this live. I'm going to get more yams for the Yam Fam right now. Okay? So we're going to do $4.99 per month. All right? So I can show you guys all this up until the part where I have to enter my credit card. All right? So there you go. All right. So let me just come back on cam. And I think you probably need to make sure you enter the same as what appears on your credit card. So, like some of my credit cards, I have my middle initial in there. I had to look over, just double check and making sure that I'm using the same email that I use for Anchor. But of course, you don't have to do that. All right. So, guys, I'm going to enter my credit card now. Oh, see? The proof is in the pudding, right? And the reason why I want you guys to see this is because I want you to explain to your listeners what they have to go through in order to support you. All right. And I want you guys to know what you need to do in order to support your Anchor podcaster or, yours truly. And so, it's pretty straightforward. And you do have to enter your zip code after you've entered all that other stuff. And I just click pay per month. This is exciting. I love being able to support someone who, oh, wow, now I can tweet it out. So I love that you guys were here watching me do this. You're a supporter. And thanks for supporting this podcast. If you ever want to adjust your subscription, you can do that at any time from the email confirmation we sent you. And it gives me a confirmation number. And then I can also share this out on Twitter. And that's what I'm going to do. So there you go. Showing support for the stream coach, Ashnichrist. And I'm going to make sure that her handle is in this. ASHNI. See? All right, I got it all composed now. So now let me show you. There you go. And now it's got her tag there. I just became a supporter of Stream Coach. And I'll just add her tag. And just to get this out here, we'll go ahead and let me put my credit card down before I do any more damage. Okay, so if it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling. And Andrew says, I have a DIY podcast. Just go watch my videos and close your eyes. That's right. That's so true. And see, this is what you should do, Andrew. You might want to even think about doing this. Is to just convert one or two of those files into audio files and set up a podcast over on Anchor and get support that way, because it takes forever to get monetized on YouTube these days. I mean, I was lucky. I got in when it was still kind of easy, all right, in comparison, relatively easy. But someone like Andrew, my dear friend Andrew, who puts out a ton of value, who's been using YouTube for ages and putting out all kinds of fantastic content. And yet, because maybe he doesn't have enough subscribers, and I'm not trying to pick on Andrew, of course, because I love him to pieces. I'm just saying, this could be you. This could be you watching and listening to this now. All right? And so Andrew is saying, hey, Zoom already provides audio-only files. So there you go. And then my friend Dryer Buzz is in the house. Question, are supported podcasts separate from regular, or so you create separate? No, they're not separate. They're in there just like the rest of them. I'm not sure if your question was that you kind of wanted it to have some type of separation. No, it's basically about you getting the word out to your listeners. So now that's something that you will add maybe to your intro or maybe to your outro. Okay? And I love the fact that now we don't have to depend on advertising. It's just all about me. So whoever wants to support me, I don't mean to say it's all about me. I mean, it's just all about the relationship that you guys have with me, the value that you guys know that I always provide. Weekly live streams here on YouTube for the whole month of July. I did daily live streams on Twitch, as well as the countdown over on Facebook, the countdown to podcast movement. And, you guys know, I don't have to tell you. But if anybody who's watching this, maybe you're seeing me for the first time and you're thinking, okay, so why should I give you support? And once you start to get into my content and you see the kind of value that I provide and you're ready to support, I love the fact that it's super easy on desktop. You're just going to go to Ileane.link/support. That's it. Ileane.link/support. I'm going to put that in the chat one more time. I'm using my Elgato Stream Deck, so I got to show off over here. Okay? And you don't have to worry about listening to a lot of ads on my podcast. Now, here, if you're on YouTube, watching me on YouTube, and you don't have YouTube Premium, you're going to have to watch some ads. I'm sorry. That's just the value exchange that you're giving for YouTube. Me personally, I couldn't take it. I upgraded to, it used to be called YouTube Red. As soon as they announced it, I was like, oh, yeah, take my $10 a month. So the same way that I feel with the value that Ashnichrist is putting out, and I see all the hard work, and I see how she gives back to her community. So for me, and honestly, I just thought about this as I was preparing for this video because I was going to talk about this feature today, but I wasn't exactly sure what my take on it was going to be. And then I just so happened to log into the Anchor app and see she had a new episode. And I'm like, that's someone that I want to give my listener support to because I know what she does for her community. I know how she works tirelessly. She provides so much value. In fact, I learned so much about Twitch from Ashnichrist. I probably should have supported a little bit more, but I chose the middle of the road, the $4.99 level. But as I saw in that announcement, I can change it at any time. Okay, so I could either go down to the 99 cents or I could go up to $9.99. And if I get more supporters here, maybe I will wind up showing more support over there. Okay, so it's not a paywall, just optional support. Yes, and now let me show you my page because I showed you Ashnichrist support page, but I don't think that Dryer Buzz was here, Yolanda, by the way. And you guys, make sure that you guys are connecting with Yolanda because she's awesome. All right, so let me just show you. Once you turn it on, you'll get this little button, this little extra button that says support this podcast. Nice purple button. It's just a coincidence that that purple color is in that. In fact, I probably need to put a different shirt on in it. But anyway, this just seems to be the same color as Anchor and as Apple Podcast app. Just a coincidence. Okay. And if I did not, let's go over to my other podcast, which I did not turn this on. And the other podcast that I have on Anchor is called Free Podcast Host. Sorry for the banging. Okay. Now, see, doesn't have it there. All right. So, but inside of the app, it would be just the same. So let's go into the app. All right. I like to, in between things, I like to go ahead and just put myself back on screen. Oh, all right. It's not at the spot that I want it to be anyway. let's go over to my profile. All right. So now it's interesting on the app, you actually don't see that support option when you're on the Anchor app. Okay. You don't see that support option when you're on the Anchor app. It's when you're on, as a listener, when you're on other platforms, that's where you see it. So that's why, as an Anchor podcaster, what you can do is go in there, add it to your bio. Let's do that right now. I'm going to go to my profile, which I'm actually on my profile. Click those three dots and let's go to settings. And I got stuff in here about watching me on Facebook. And it's probably easier for me to edit it from desktop. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to edit it from desktop, guys. Just because it's easier for me. And I want to make sure I don't go over the character limit. And then, that would be a bummer. Okay. So let me come back on cam here. Looks like I'm having a little technical issues there. I know what I have to do. Sorry about that. There you go. I had to click me there. My bad. All right, so we're going to go into my settings. And, I talk about a bunch of things that people can do. And I'll see if I'm going to have enough room in here. Oh, yeah, it looks like I have hundreds of characters left. And then I always like to put my little arrow there. And then I've made a custom short link because I use this site called Rebrandly. So it's Ileane.link/support. Better put 2 P's or people won't find it. Okay. Oh, and while I'm here, this question came up when I was hanging out with the folks on Ask the Podcast Coach yesterday. They were saying that they were concerned about the Anchor logo. Notice I don't have the Anchor logo on my cover art. That's because when you go in here, you can toggle it off right here. This is where you go into the advanced settings, and this is where you get your RSS feed, and you can toggle off the logo, the Anchor logo, and also the Anchor post roll, which is just a little thing of John saying, this podcast was recorded on Anchor. Get your own state. I turned that off. Now, at any given time, I can turn it back on. It's up to me. All right? It's very easy. As you can see that it was done right there. All right? So now I'm going to save that. And I don't know how long it's going to take to update on the app itself because I actually have the app open. But let's just close the app out. And let me just go back to my settings page. Anchor.fm/Ileane. Okay, so now I have it as part of my bio. Now, when you're on the web, it kind of looks kind of silly because here's the support link right there. But if you're inside the app, let's see what happened inside the app, guys. I don't know if that updated. Let me just... You don't actually see... you know what? I think someone else would see it, even though I don't see my whole bio there. But someone else would see it. So wait, I just went into the editing side there, and you see it's there. Support this show, Ileane.link/support. So there you go. And so wait, let me go over to my notes because I just wanted to make sure there were so many things that I wanted to cover today, and I wanted to make sure that I also added in some of the concerns that people have about using Anchor. And first one is the terms of service. Now, it's so funny because I showed you guys earlier Spotify, right? And one of the things that Spotify does is they don't take your native file. They actually rehost and re-encode your files in order to accommodate their platform. And no, believe it or not, eventually Spotify will play ads. And they probably doing it now. I don't actually use Spotify, so I know they email me to death and ask me, last chance. I don't know how many last chance emails I got from Spotify, okay, that I could get premium for 99 cents. And it's like, no thanks. I don't use it like that. But anyway, people are concerned about Anchor's terms of service because they think that Anchor's going to take their content and do something with it, which they're not. Okay? They clearly state in their terms of service that your content belongs to you. And I can show you that, even though I think looking at terms of service is probably one of the most boring things we can do as content creators. Just create your content, okay? But nobody seems to could be concerned that Spotify will take your content and place ads on it, that you get absolutely not one little red cent. That doesn't seem to bother anybody. I don't know why, and I'm not one of those people. My Anchor podcast is on Spotify because Anchor was nice enough to put all of our podcasts on Spotify. I never had to lift a finger. I didn't even have to send a request. In fact, I'm also now on Stitcher. That's the latest platform that they added this podcast to. All right. Radio Public. I want to talk about that. I definitely want to come back and talk about Radio Public in a second. But anyway, getting back to some of the concerns that people have. The Anchor TOS has some things in there about using your content for derivative works, and that basically is to address. And I heard this from Mike Mignano when he gave his talk at Podcast Movement, and he explained that derivative works are those Anchor videos that we can make. And my friend Tinu over on Twitter was just asking me about this yesterday. And she said, well, if they can transcribe my content, I'm in. Yes, up to 2 minutes of a segment. Now, mind you, you can have more than 2 minutes. You can have different segments as part of an episode on Anchor, and they give you all the tools to do that. And you can take a 2-minute segment, and Anchor will transcribe it for you and create a video for you. So now you can share that on Instagram stories. You can share it on your Instagram feed. You can share it on Facebook, YouTube, whatever you want to do with it. Okay? And let's go back to the Radio Public thing, because here's another question that a lot of folks had for me is how to embed their podcast on a WordPress.com blog. Oh, it was driving me nuts. Well, WordPress.com has a really nice integration with Radio Public. It gives you this really gorgeous player. And I see my friend Larry is here. Hi, Larry. How are you? And Larry and I talked about this, and we worked. Larry helped me with getting WordPress.com to show the embeds. But if you want a really nice looking player, you will use your Radio Public. I don't know why WordPress.com decided to team up with Radio Public, but they did. And it's a really nice looking player that you can embed with Radio Public. Now, you can also embed just the link to your M4A file from Anchor, but finding that is a bunch of work that I'm not going to go into. If you have Anchor and you want to have a free WordPress.com blog, use that Radio Public, because Anchor is already going to submit your podcast to Radio Public. You don't have to ask them. You don't even have to tweet them. It's just going to happen. And all you have to do is take that link from that episode, and it's going to give you a really nice looking player that you can display on your WordPress.com in your blog post and in a sidebar widget. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. And now, if you do all the back end stuff where you actually go and grab the link from the Anchor raw file, which is an M4A file, you get a player, kind of ugly, kind of little. Not my best user experience, but like I said, it doesn't matter because you can use the Radio Public one and get, people can still hear you, and you're going to add your call to action. Support the show. Listener support. So that's something that you want to be able to add to, like I said, your intro or your outro of your podcast going forward once you sign up for listener support. Now, I wanted to give you a little bit more info about the listener support. Andrew said, my latest bumper sticker. Don't give me a like, just send money. Andrew, I love that sentiment. That's right. Go ahead and set up the anchor.fm/Andrew Hatchett or whatever handle you want to use. Put some of those audio files up there and then say, if you want to support the show. Okay, because some people who are in the U.S. did have a little issue and they weren't able to turn on this monetization feature. So I might as well put that out there right now before somebody asks. Because they have added music from Spotify or Apple Music into their podcast. So they need to get rid of that. Now, I've never done that. I never thought that was a fantastic feature of Anchor. And Larry says, or show me the money. Yeah, maybe that could be your podcast. Anchor.fm/show me the money. I never thought that was a great feature of Anchor. And I'll show you what I mean. Honestly, I got to tell you guys, I really don't have many complaints about Anchor at this point. I really don't. And this is not a complaint. This is just to say to you, be cautious if you're going to be doing this, okay? So this is one of the things you can do when you're composing an episode in the Anchor app. So let's go to the app real quick. All right? You're going to see that plus sign all across Anchor in various places, okay? Gord is here. Hey, howdy, Gord Eisman. And Gord just did videos talking about how you can make a Facebook profile pic. That's a movie. Yeah, if you're into Camtasia, make sure you follow Gord. All right, so Alfredo, am I still alive, Alfredo? Yes, believe it or not, I know I'm getting closer and closer and closer to that day. But for right now, I'm alive. Listening from Stevenson Field after overnight camping. Oh, no wonder you're not at church this morning. You went overnight camping. Good. Thank you. My rule number 1, if you don't write the music, then do not use it. Hello. That's, because we're old school. We're old school, Andrew. And ever since Anchor had the option, and I'm not going to say I never used it. I'm not going to say I never used this option. I never made a podcast episode with this option, okay? But a lot of people do. They didn't do anything wrong. It's just that now they have to go back and delete those music. But let me just show you what I'm referring to, okay? So wherever you see that plus sign at the bottom is when you can start your composition. of your episode. So you have all these different options. The very first one is the green button. That's when someone leaves you a message, another unique feature of Anchor, which caught my attention from the very beginning. The way to bring other people's voices into your podcast is from the voice messages that people can leave you. But we're not going to go into that right now. Then you can record. Well, I could record right now if I wanted to. Then, and I've shown this in many videos, and I will definitely put a card there in the YouTube so you can see that. Then here's my library. So this is everything that I've ever recorded in the app, whether it was from desktop. Let's see if I can get a little... I don't think I like that. Let me just show you the app. You don't need to see me right now. Okay, so that's my library of all the content. I could also import. At the very top, you see there's an import button. I could import from a different app that I may have done a recording on, okay? So next we're going to slide over. Transitions. Now the transitions are fine. Those are just little 2-second little notes, right? 2 to 3 seconds of some type of a note to just say to your listener, hey, we're moving on into something else, okay? Invite people to join feature. Has the sound improved? Okay, Larry, we'll get back to that in 1 second because I didn't even get to the feature that I want to show. But that's a good question, so we will get back to that. All right. Music. This is the part that I've never used in an episode. I have used it because, people can listen to what you have to say over on Anchor. Doesn't have to be the podcast that gets pushed out to iTunes and gets pushed out to Google. I shouldn't have said iTunes. Bad podcast or bad. Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or Spotify or Castbox, blah, 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 blah. Overcast is my favorite app. All right? So people can listen inside of the app. So one of the things they can listen to is music that you've added from Apple Music or Spotify. Now, if you're on Android, you don't have the option of Google Play Music. So it's either Spotify or Apple Music for those of us who are on iPhone. And what that does is, it does add some variety to your content. It could spice up your episode. You're talking about something, and then there's this song that just goes with it so well. And people that are in the app, they'll hear, I want to say 20 seconds. I can't remember. Because that's, like I said, that's never been my favorite feature. Never. But suffice to say, it has been a fun way that a lot of podcasters have filled in the gaps and added the additional mood and enhancement to their podcast. And the way it works, and the reason why Spotify allowed Anchor to do this, and Anchor, for some reason, they've got some really great connections with these folks in Apple Podcasts, right? I'm sorry, Apple Music, in this case, Apple Music, is because the listener only hears a snippet and it's supposed to prompt them click through to hear the whole song. So then I put the song in my podcast and you're like, oh, that is my jam. I need to buy it. Or maybe it's, I got the new Nicki Minaj CD, right? And you guys are like, wait a minute, I didn't know her thing was that good. Let me go over there and buy it. I think you can buy it now. I don't know. Anyway, maybe not a good example. So that's just to entice you to go over there. Personally, I don't kind of mix my music listening with my podcast listening. I guess that's the best way for me personally. Okay? So people that have done that and then publish that episode with that little music in there, they've published the episode. They're not able to turn on this listener support. So it could be a big pain for them to go back and delete all of those little segments, but it can be done. Or you could just delete all your old episodes and just start from now on and say, or you can recompose them, because remember, the library has all your stuff there. So you can go back into your library. I'm just trying to give you guys some options. I know these options are not going to work for everybody. So everybody who's on Anchor, if you're in the US, this option may or may not work for you. But you can go through, and your library of all this content is there. You can make a new episode, all right? See, in my case, let's just say I had done it before. In my case, because my content most of the time is a tutorial, okay? And the way Anchor updates their app, because the Anchor show is all about Anchor, the way they update their app, some of that content is, it's old news. It's not evergreen content. So it would be no big deal for me to go in there and just say, oh, we'll just delete that one. Because, look, I don't want that stopping me from turning on listener support. And LPS Candy Bomb. Hey, what's this live about? This live is about listener support for podcasts on Anchor. What's the revenue split? Oh, Larry, I didn't even answer your other question. Let's go back to the first question. Invite people to join feature. Has the sound improved? Yes. Anchor has been hiring so many people. They've hired a web person. They've hired a iOS person. They are just hiring all these people that are behind the scenes working to make the sound better. I mean, they put out blog posts saying, the sound has improved. And it's like, okay, thank you, Anchor. So let's go to your other question. All right, so the best way to do that for me is to head over to the blog posts, because your second question was, what's the revenue split? All right, so let's head over to the blog post. And they describe it in here. Now you can get paid to podcast and one-touch payment with Apple Pay and Google Pay. And here's a screenshot of what, my bad. Here's a screenshot of what I showed you guys earlier. Because you guys know I already did it live. All the folks that have been here since the beginning of this stream, or if you're watching this in the replay, you actually saw me go in here and show support to Ashnichrist. All right, so this is just a screenshot of what it looked like. For those of you who missed it, you see that become a supporter of this podcast there. And here. Then they enter payment info, the Stripe, all right? Because you have to, as a podcaster, you need to connect with Stripe. Wait a minute. That's not what I want to do. Hang on one second, guys. Let me get me on here with this, because it doesn't make sense for me to have that. Okay. I feel better now. All right, and so let's get to the question. Where is it? Doesn't tell me the breakdown. Here it is. All right, Anchor takes an industry lowest 4.5% fee. 4.5. Let me make that bigger. Okay. 4.5 alongside Stripe's standard 5% plus 10% processing from each transaction. There's also a 0.25% Stripe payout fee. Now, I definitely recommend don't go in there cashing out every time you get 99 cents, because then you see right there, you got to pay 25 cents just for them to give you a payout. Wait until it builds up a little something, something. Okay, so as I mentioned, I had a supporter. I had my friend Bernie from Top Gold show support at the 99 cent level. All right, and you guys follow Bernie, Top Gold. That's on good social networks everywhere. Let me just put his handle in here. Bernie Goldbach. And it already took out, Anchor did their thing, Stripe did their thing, and then that came down to 79 cents. So I guess it was 20 cents that went between Anchor and Stripe and all that. But of course, I didn't cash that out. I would build up. All right. So I hope that answers your 2 questions. But I'm also going to show you a little bit more here on the website of the different people they've been hiring with the audio, because that's just important. It's a really important thing. And, I got to be honest with you. I was listening to, like I was saying earlier, the Ask the Podcast Coach show yesterday. And they started really talking about these preamps and some other things that were just gone way over my head. And I think that this is one of the things that really turns people off who are new to podcasting. All of the tech, with the different devices that you can connect, and massaging and the compression and the, what do they call it? The, not the voiceover, the double enders, and that was too much for me. I like to do it nice and simple, where I just either talking to the phone, I will use an external mic, or talking to the mic, and it's got to be a USB mic. That's just me. And some people might say, yeah, you sound like you're on a USB mic. Whatever. But there are so many people who are serious audiophiles, and there ain't nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying, I know, because I talk to you guys and I hear from you guys, that this is a turnoff. This is the reason why you don't pursue podcasting, because you think your audio has to be pristine. And it doesn't. It needs to be good. It needs to be listenable, but it doesn't need to be pristine. Okay? And believe it or not, I'm going to get back on my little soapbox. Believe it or not, for all of these folks that have this really, really great audio, they bring on a guest and the guest sounds like crap. Y'all got me spoiled, right? Because I'm used to listening to the Howl POR40 and everything. There's no echo in the background. And then you bring on a guest that doesn't even sound like they're on their phone. And in your head, it's like, well, you'll understand every now and then there's going to be a guest. No, I don't understand. You should have never spoiled me. If you would have sounded like crap, then I would have been used to your crap. I just had to get that off my chest. All right, so this is an engineering manager. Meet the newest, I don't know what kind of engineering he does, but hi, Sam. I tweeted him already. And then this is the relations person, and this is business operations. And then this is the content operations, the web engineer. I'm not trying to just brush over these folks. I'm sure these folks are all doing a fantastic job. I'm just trying to give people an idea of how much hiring that Anchor is doing, so that things sound better, look better, easier to share, and all that good stuff. Now your audio on Anchor sounds better than ever. This is the one that I definitely want to share with my friend Larry here. I'm going to put that link over here in the comments, so you guys can look that up whenever you want. Now your audio sounds better than ever. And there you go. Any more questions? There's so much to talk about with this whole topic. And, hosting host to guest. What are you talking from the bottom of a, why are you talking from the bottom of a 55-gallon drum? Andrew, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You know, it's like, this is the way some of these podcasts sound because they have these guests that know absolutely nothing. And it could be easily solved. I wanted to be techie and say solvable, but that just sounded too much like a pro podcaster. It's an easy solution. Tell them to get their phone and put in their Apple earbuds that came with their Apple iPhone, or if they're on an Android phone, the earbuds that came with their Android phone, or get that lavalier mic, and you can find all the gear that I recommend over at my Amazon shop. Y'all know about that. Amazon.com/shop/Ileane Smith. And you'll see my Rode Smart Lav Plus mic, also the AT2020, which I'm recording my new podcast. Yeah, I ain't tell y'all about the new podcast yet. I will in a minute, though. And that 2.8 million influx is going quick with all these hires. Yeah, but, you know, there's always more VC money to be had. And, you know, Anchor is saying that they're being very transparent, but I got to be honest with you. I don't think they have to record or put out a blog post every time somebody throws them $100,000 or, you know, $500,000 or, you know what I'm saying? Like, money may come in. I don't know. What do I know about VC? I don't know nothing. We bootstrap everything. We just look at our bank accounts. When I say we, I mean Better Than Success. And that will segue me over into my new podcast. To use Anchor. Oh, okay. What do we really want with Amy? I like that. What do we really want with Amy? Well, Amy, you have on the cutest white dress and you are chilling in a nice, comfortable, I don't know if that's a sofa or whatever. So that's one thing that I really want. Like right now, I would love to be chilling on a sofa. To use Anchor, do you have to use your phone? What if a guest is in another country? Can we use Skype? Yes, yes, yes. You can record however you want to record. You can record with the call recorder, Skype call recorder, that is from the same folks who make this platform that I'm using right now, EcammLive. They also make Ecamm call recorder. You can do your interview and then simply upload it to Anchor using the Anchor desktop. And I highly recommend that as a very great workflow. And let me just show that really quickly because I think that's an excellent question. And speaking of Skype, you know, Skype has a mobile app. So even if your guest is anywhere in the world, okay, the Skype mobile app, you can have them call in to your Skype on your computer. You can record it with the call recorder. I understand the new built-in Skype recording app is not good, so don't use that. That's coming from my friend Jim Collison from the As the Podcast Coach fame. Okay, so here, if you were to do a new episode, Anchor gives you options. You can upload it. So you've done your recording, you interviewed your guest, and you recorded it with your Skype call recorder. You just upload it. Or you turn on the recorder and start recording. I've done so many of these tutorials. I think you guys have all watched them all, but it's impossible. You couldn't watch them all except for Larry and Andrew. Okay, more questions are coming in. Andrew said, plus the podcast labs in NYC. Oh my gosh, I don't think I told you about this. Speaking about me having a new podcast, maybe I did tell you, but Larry wasn't here. the founders of Anchor have decided that they're going to release their own podcast called Co-Founders. So it's Mike McNamara and Near, and I cannot remember Near's last name. I'm sorry, but his first name is Nir. They set up this studio so that they could record a podcast, and then they decided, well, why don't we, when we're not recording, let other people come in and record for free. So all you have to do is go over, fill out a Google Doc, and get your time. So if you're in NYC area, you can have a professional recording studio. I guess they let you stay in there for, I don't know, an hour, 45 minutes, probably at least a half an hour. Don't hold me to those times. I didn't go sign up because I'm not in NYC. But, you know, and TechCrunch was recording an episode of their podcast. I don't know if they released that yet. I meant to go look and see if they did. But I thought, no, I take it back. I laughed for a good 5 minutes when I saw Anchor tweeting out TechCrunch. No, and guys, the reason why I'm laughing is because, TechCrunch, these are the tech gurus. They could podcast on any highfalutin, rootin' tootin', high PR40s. But where did they decide to record their podcast? At Anchor. TechCrunch. Yeah. I just thought that was amusing. I thought that. And Amy has joined the list of those that love me. Thank you, Amy. Amy loves me. Well, Amy, you could always support the show at listener support. And I'll just add that link there into the chat. Record/edit your podcast, then upload via the web. Thank you, Larry. You said that so much more efficiently than I did. But you know me, I like to show visuals. And actually, I could bring somebody in here right now using Skype. I'm not going to do that, though. But I could bring someone in on Skype. And while I'm having this live stream, I could be, interviewing someone on Skype and then just extract the audio from the recording and then upload it to my podcast. And I probably will do that one day soon, but not today. I had too many windows and things opened. And so there you go. So, yeah, Larry is saying Anchor is available from the website and the app. And if you have an iPad, which I don't, and I feel bad. I feel some type of way that I can't demo this. But if you have an iPad, you have access to a really, really cool editor from Anchor where you can, trim sections out and all of that. And it's strictly an editor. You can't listen to podcasts with the Anchor app for iPad. But hang on, let's see if I can show. That was one of the things that I kind of skipped over when I was scrolling through here, showing you all the new hires. Okay, here it is. Let me get that up for you guys to see. If you have an iPad, they have this amazing, honestly, I thought about buying an iPad. That's just how amazing this little, and here they even have a video to show, how you can record, edit, do all the trimming out of your ums, your ahs, or whatever you want to trim out. Something that was said that you misspoke or whatever. And then you can do all of that from your iPad and then upload it into your Anchor podcast. So I think that's absolutely tremendous. Like I said, I even thought about, how much are iPads? But I need a little bit more listener support in order to migrate over to an iPad. It's a nice workflow. And then, like I said, some I think as long as you have the expectation to know that you can't really listen and consume Anchor podcasts with that iPad app, it's strictly a creation tool. But I think some of the, typical or some of the guys that I hang out with, how about if I say it like that instead of trying to be so fancy? My Anchor pals were kind of pissed that like the ones that have iPads, because they were like, well, I can't listen. And it's like, they should have made it clear. That's not a listening app. That's only a composition app. Wait, what? Out of all the tech you've purchased, you don't have an iPad? I don't have a reason to have one, because I have 2 iPhones. Why do I need an iPad? This little Anchor thing is the only thing that I've seen that I need an iPad for. If I was into drawing and, doing that kind of stuff where I could use the stylus, I'm not into that. I should be. I wish I was. I should be more creative. No, I'm not ready for my close-up, Miss DeMille. Oh, Andrew, well, one day we'll get you in here on Skype. So, guys, I think I'm kind of going through soup to nuts here about Anchor. And, I just want you to see that people were concerned about Anchors with their business model. So now you guys see that they do have a business model. I know that as soon as I turned on the listener support, I got some support. So I know that there's other folks out there that their listener base has wanted to support their show somehow. And so this is a perfect solution. But the more we as podcasters who are on Anchor put that out there, that people can support the show that way, I think that's another way for the monetization that doesn't just benefit an advertiser. I don't have anything against advertisers, but I really go out of my way not to listen to ads. I got to be honest with you. I TiVo everything so I can watch it later. Even the things that I like, well, I call it TiVo, but they actually call it DVRing. But to me, it's so much easier to say TiVo. So that I don't have to watch those commercials, because there's just some things that I'm not going to go out and buy. Same reason I don't have a smartphone. No need, see? How many users are on Anchor? I'm assuming you meant are on Anchor. Is it growing substantially? Well, Larry, that's a good question. This caused a big, maybe I'm exaggerating when I say big. All the other podcast hosts were really, really speculative of these numbers that Anchor is putting out here. And they said that, this is according to Anchor here. Anchor is expanding the world of podcasting by empowering independent creators all over the world. In fact, 1 out of every 3 new podcasts are now powered by Anchor. And this is according to something called Chartable. Not anything I ever heard of before. And honestly, I don't know how any of these statistics are derived. I don't see all of the other podcast hosts sharing their data to say, I still see, for me, Anchor being used a repurposed tool for our podcast. Okay. You must be, there's a few typos there, but I think I understand what you mean. Yeah, of course. Why not use it as a repurposing tool? It don't cost you nothing. Oh, really quickly, let me tell you about my new podcast. My new podcast, I'm sorry, you guys are not probably going to be interested unless you are a member of the Better Than Success Real Estate League, because it's just a little small podcast for those folks. And I actually got the inspiration for this podcast from Mike McNamara of Anchor, because, one of the things that kind of drives me crazy is how everybody in the podcasting industry is always so worried about numbers. I want to grow my show. How do you build your audience? How do you make it bigger? How do you make it? And sometimes that just drives me nuts. And some of the examples that Michael gave during his podcast movement talk were of, what about if you just want to have a small audience? What's wrong with that? Like, just say, for example, I'll give you some examples that may apply to you. Let's just say you're the person in your family who's always coordinating the parties or the family reunions. What if you just want to have a podcast for your family? A family reunion podcast. Or what if you just wanted to have a podcast for your neighbors? Just like the people I'm pointing, because you know who my neighbors are, right? My friend Mr. Rodney, his mother, his sister. We do have other people that live on this block, though. But let's just say, there's 100 people that live on this block altogether. I'm just making up that number. It may not even be that many. It's probably more like 75. What if I just wanted to have a podcast for 75 people? Or what if I wanted to have a podcast that was just for the 220 members of the Better Than Success Real Estate League? What's wrong with that? And so that's what my new podcast is for those folks. And, I just wanted to say that. I just wanted to put that out there, that podcasts don't always have to grow. They don't always have to have a lot of listeners. They don't always have to be so big and build this humongous audience, especially when half the time you don't have nothing to say. Oh, and the reason why I say that is because you're doing an interview show and you got to bring somebody else in. Why? Because you don't have anything to say? You just have to bring in an expert who sounds like they're in a tunnel with water pouring down their back? I don't know. Why? Don't you have something that you can say? The beauty of Anchor is, guess what? You can experiment with all that for free. You can do it all for free. BTS for the win. Thank you, Larry. Podcasts for neighborhood watch associations are great. Thank you, Andrew. And they don't have to grow. It's, your message needs to reach your target audience and make an impact. And what's wrong with having a small target audience? There's nothing wrong with that. But because people have to pay for podcast hosting, they're like, oh no, I wasn't even thinking about having a podcast for this group or that group or these people or those people, because I'm not paying $10 a month, $20 a month, $30 a month. I got to show art, this, that, and the other. I'm not doing all of that. But when you know it's free, why not? Now, back to talking about the Better Than Success little podcast that I'm doing. I'm not using Anchor for that because it's private content, okay? But I could, if I wanted to, I could, because I don't have to put it out. I could just put it in for Anchor, but I don't want everybody in the league to have the Anchor app. Now, you can use it for your small group, but they don't need to have the Anchor app, because remember, I just showed you all those platforms that podcast can be shared to, okay? Mine's is on, and even Ashnichrist had more than me. Ashnichrist had more than me. But I'm on all these platforms. Ashnichrist, I think she also had, in addition to these, she had TuneIn, I think was one of hers. And then I've seen some people also listed in Podbean, which I'm still not sure how that works. But hey, look at all these apps. There's so many different ways And the two primary ones being Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. And then, of course, as Larry can also talk about, and you can find out if you were one of his patrons. I know he did a video for us patrons, how to turn it into a flash briefing for Lexi. Notice how I didn't say her name? I didn't activate your device. Wasn't that good of me? All right. So there's a lot that you can do with a podcast when you know that it's not going to be any technical barriers. There's no monetary barrier. All you got to do is push that little button and start talking. And you might want to put a title when you finish so that you can remember what you were talking about. How's that? Larry's talking about the Nextdoor app is a great tool for NWA, Andrew. Yep. I don't ever heard of the Nextdoor app, but then you got to get all of your people to install it. So see, this is why I'm saying about Anchor, because everybody's got some kind of listening app on their phone, whether it's Apple Podcasts. You know, if you got an iPhone, that's built in, right? You have to literally get rid of it. Or you, now Google Podcasts is not really native on an Android, but if they search for it, it comes up right there. Yeah. And then, you know, you can listen on the web. And then, like with Andrew, he doesn't have a phone. So he said he'll pass it on to his sister. She's the one doing NWA alerts from the scanner. Yeah. So if people knew that they could just navigate to the website to listen to the NWA alerts, Neighborhood Watch, for those who just tuned in. So there you go, guys. Just think outside the box. And like I said, Michael inspired me because I do hear this all the time about how do I grow my audience? How do I get more listeners? How do I, and it's like, sometimes it just drives me nuts. It's just like, it's okay if it's only benefiting 10 people, because guess what? You don't have to pay for it. And you never know. They may lend their listener support so that you can decide to grow it. Take it on the road, so to speak. Nextdoor is web also. It's like community looking out for community. Law enforcement use it all the time. Oh, thank you, Larry. Thank you. I know my dad used to listen to the police scanner. Rest in peace, Percy. That was the background of me growing up. Police scanner. You know, my father was a police officer. And that was just in the background. You had music playing all day long, and then the police scanner. Yeah, that was pretty much it. When you went to bed, the police scanner was still on. Doesn't Overcast grab Google/iTunes podcast? I didn't know you could submit directly. You're right. But you said two things. Overcast grabs Apple Podcasts, not Google Podcasts. Overcast grabs Apple Podcasts. Yes. There you go. Oh, my goodness. El Pacino. Hello, El. I like that purple. That's the color for today anyway, of the L. And Rob is saying, hi, Larry. And my sister has 3 scanners going, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. to cover Nashville. Your sister is the bomb. She is on it. Yeah. So, yeah, there's just so many things you can do with a podcast. It's, like I said, especially when it's free. So, there you go. So, yeah, I did a little demo of the Overcast app last week for those who, you know, are looking for a podcast listening app if you're on iPhone. Yeah, the only problem with Overcast is that it is iPhone only. And if you're on a Android phone, then you want Google Podcasts, and that app is displayed prominently on all the Anchor podcasters page. So, and I mentioned also when I was at Podcast Movement, it seemed like all the folks that were asking me about my podcast had just so happened to have Android phones. And I just told them to type in my name, and they typed in my name, Ileane, and the word podcast, and two podcasts came up, my Miss Ileane Speaks and my Anchor podcast. But actually, the Anchor podcast came up first. They just typed it in. Well, I don't know why the Anchor podcast, because the other podcast is called Miss Ileane Speaks. And I didn't tell them to type in the word Anchor. I told them to type in the word Ileane. But the Anchor podcast showed up first. Not sure why. But, that's how Google is. That's why I try to have my hands in a little bit of everything, because Google has a way of showing what they want to show. Not what they should be showing. Because, that's just how it goes, guys. Was there a referral code for Anchor for you? Okay, Anchor is free, so you don't need a referral code from me, sweetie. Just go ahead and sign up to anchor.fm, and then look for me when you get there. Make sure you subscribe to my podcast or follow. It's called follow when you're inside the app. And then that way I can see you, and then I can follow you back. Okay? How often do you record for Anchor and listen to other Anchor recordings? That has changed a lot, Larry. And honestly, I don't know if I can quantify that right off the top of my head. Like when you say how often, every day I open up the app. How's that? Every day I open up that Anchor app. I don't record every day there. That's the way to do it. Put your hands in everything. Yeah, Rob. Okay, making sure if there was, I wanted to give you credit. Oh, that is so wonderful of you. Thank you so very much, Rob. And what I've always wanted to do is to provide the tutorials for folks. And I also do have an Anchor course. If there's somebody who just is like, look, I still don't understand. I still don't get it about Anchor. I do have an Anchor course. And let me show you that, by the way. Might as well put up the... oops, sorry. Got hidden behind the window. It's how to start a podcast with Anchor. And, how tips there for promoting your show, how to use the mobile app. And so, yeah, it's there for you guys. If anybody wants to just feel like they need a little extra hand holding, I do have a course there, so. All right. And then Radio Don has said, good morning. Good morning. Yeah, it is still morning. Wow. Yep. So, guys, if you have any other questions, let me make sure that I let you guys know how to get in touch with me. Let me do that. And if you want to send me a voicemail, first, just know that you can use the Anchor app. Okay, you can leave a message inside of the Anchor app. But if you don't want to get on Anchor, you can go to Ileane.link/voicemail to leave me a voicemail. And if you would rather just send me an email, then you would go to Ileane.link/contact. Ileane.link/contact. And Rob said, you're using EcammLive to YouTube. Have you had any issues? Not one, not any issues. Any issues that I have all been user error. On my behalf, I've been using it just for Facebook. Any tips for me? I have about 5 tutorials here on YouTube about how to use EcammLive. And it's basically the same as using it on Facebook. The only difference, can't really think of any. Can't, off the top of my head, Rob, I can't think of any difference. You know, you can do all of what you guys see me doing here. I guess the reason I don't do podcasts is that most of my stuff is tutorials. Yeah, mine is too, Andrew, with lots of screenshots and screen shares, and that is hard to do in podcasts. Yep, but sometimes people just want to listen anyway, you know, even though there's a part where we're saying, do this, go here, go there. Sometimes people just want to have that as background. Maybe they're driving or, you know, doing housework, multitasking. That's the advantage of having a podcast, is that when, you know, even when people are multitasking, they still can listen. So at this time, what I want to say to you guys is feel free to go on and check out some of my other YouTube videos about Anchor, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more live streams every weekend here on YouTube. Bye for now. Have a wonderful day.